First, the bruising battle over funding the government and defunding Obamacare. But brace yourselves, it's not the only battle. There's another big fight on the horizon, and that is whether or not to raise the debt limit. Former Congressman Alan West tweeting, per POTUS, raising debt limit doesn't increase debt. Yeah, right. Just like scoring more touchdowns doesn't get you more points. Congressman West joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
Do you think the president misspoke, or that we've misassigned to him this whole idea that raising the debt limit isn't going to raise the debt?
Well, I think the president is somewhat confused because, you know, Senator Barack Obama said it was a failure of leadership. And now we have a failure of leadership to the tune of what was once $10.67 trillion of debt is now almost $17 trillion in debt. And for the president to believe that pushing the debt ceiling out even further, and I'll, full disclosure, I voted for the Budget Control Act back in August of 2011 because I saw a 70 to 75% solution. But I don't think people up here in Washington, D.C. really want to solve the debt crisis for the United States of America. And the shame is this. When you look at our debt to GDP ratio, we now owe more than what we're producing. And furthermore, you have a federal government that is spending about 25% of your gross domestic product, and that's on the way to be about 32%.
Well, you know, the example is given, and it's just the perfect example, is that if you got a $5,000 limit on a credit card, and you've hit the $5,000 limit, and you call up and you get it raised to $7,000, you spend $7,000 now, is you've now increased your debt.
Yes.
I mean, so it's like the whole idea, like, you know, what do we expect to achieve by raising our debt? Obviously, we have to pay our bills. I mean, I recognize the real problems, but you know, but I don't see sort of the seriousness of purpose on this whole debt limit thing, because I mean, we are going to get a bigger debt. We may have to get a bigger debt in some people's eyes, but we're going to get it.
But I don't think you have to get the bigger debt. The question is, you have to, at some point in time, have fiscal discipline. You know, Greta, you and I cannot go in our basement and print more money to try to prop up, you know, our household income, but that's exactly what this federal government is doing. So really, when you think about the debt that we have, when you think about the monetary policy, we have an artificial economy. If the Fed stops printing money, and what Ben Bernanke is doing, then all of a sudden you will see what really is happening in this economy. And so we are not doing the things for economic growth. We're doing more things for economic dependency. And I hate to put it this way, but sooner or later, Moose and Rocco are going to call in your debt, and you're going to have to pay that back up. So interest rates will end up going up at some point in time. You
know, it doesn't make any sense to me that we have a Hispanic culture caucus on Capitol Hill. We have a Tea Party caucus. We have a Congressional Black caucus. We have all these different caucuses with groups that have something in common, have a particular purpose they're really interested in. We don't have a waste and fraud caucus. You know, you'd think that because there is, I mean, the numbers are staggering, you know, the amount of waste in this town.
No, but remember what Nancy Pelosi just said. There's nothing left. We can't cut anymore. That's what she just said. Okay, well, that was nuts.
I mean, I'd say, I don't know what she's drinking on that one, but or smoking or whatever. But I mean, there's so much waste in fraud. It's like, why? I mean, and I would think that'd be such a politically attractive issue to grab onto. But everyone, I mean, why isn't everyone seizing it?
Because, you know, Tom, Senator Coburn puts out that list all the time. And you remember that book that you had with what, $280 billion of duplicative programs up here. Then Washington, D.C. loses power. If they don't have all of these redundant jobs programs, if you don't have the National Park Service out there doing a video about the Islamic treatment of women, what is the Park Service doing a video about that for? And you
but still, you'd think, wouldn't you think there'd be a group of members of Congress that would sort of love sort of they'd be able to have sort of the moral, I mean, they'd be able to have sort of the...
But Greta, then they get called extremists, anarchists. They're extorting people because they want to bring some fiscal sanity and discipline in Washington, D.C. And then Washington, D.C. loses the power. There is a cabal of people in this town, Republican and Democrats. They want to keep the power up here in Washington, D.C. and they want to keep this government spending going the way that it is.
Here's my other one. It said, nobody thought in the 1980s it was even remotely possible that we could win the Cold War. I mean, it just seemed absolutely, after 4 decades of fighting it, and President Ronald Reagan said, why don't we just win it? You know, why don't we just do it? Or the war on poverty, another perfect example since the 1960s. And everyone's just sort of thrown in the towel, and whatever we're doing is just dead wrong. Why doesn't someone just sort of pick up the mantle and think, let's win this war?
Because once again, there is a business in keeping people dependent upon government. When you think about the fact that the food stamp rolls have just exploded by 52% in the past 5 years, why are we doing that? We should be getting people off of the food stamp rolls. We should be getting people out of poverty.
Why would anyone want to? Why would anyone want to like pursue a strategy that's just not working?
Because for them it is working, because they stay in power. They stay in office up here in Washington, D.C.
All right, well.
That's the self-serving aspect of politics.
All right. right, Congressman, nice to see you, sir. Always nice to see you.
Yes.
Come